thought I saw you from the corner of my eye. I turned around but you're behind me. A little vision in the middle of July. You're gonna know it when you find me. Now every time I close my eyes, I'm seeing out of yours. Baby,
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest joins me from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's a multi-instrumentalist, producer, and singer-songwriter who's got 4 new singles out this year, and he's worked with McCall, a previous On That Note guest, on her EP On Self-Loathing. You can check out his song right now called Download. It came out October 23rd, so it's hot off the press. And if you want, please subscribe and like the podcast. It'll mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Anyway, please welcome Bobby Rethwish. All right. Well, Bobby Rethwish, I think we'll just go ahead and get started here. Thanks for joining me. I found out about you through McCall, who you are producing right now. She was a great guest on this show, and I was really pumped to interview her. And when she told me that you and her kind of have a collaboration going on for a lot of the songs on her new EP, I was like, okay, well, I have to talk to this guy. He's a wizard.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for having me on, too.
Yeah, of course. You've been putting out a handful of singles this year so far. So I went and listened to them, and I really love what you're doing. I love the sounds that you throw in there, and your songwriting is just as good. So it's really cool to see that combination of the two. You just released Download, which is the newest single. It came out October 26th. What was that like putting out that song? Was it any different from the other 2020 singles?
I was definitely really proud of that one. The singles thing has been kind of an attempt to like love what I put out when I put it out. Because before it's like you spend so much time making like an album or an EP, and you love it, but then by the time it comes out, you're not really about it anymore. So I wanted to just get things more up to date. So I was it was one of those songs where I was definitely still really happy with it when it came out. So it's been like a really positive experience because I made it pretty quickly too. Like I think I made the whole thing in September.
And then put it out a month later. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's been very momentary. Like I decide what song to do, like a month or less before it comes out, which is...
What's that feeling that you get when you know that this one thing you're working on is going to be the thing you put out in a month or two?
It's definitely exciting. And then I get a sense of focus. That's actually the hardest part, just deciding what, because have such a big backlog of music at this point, just between I put out an album in 2019, and in the time between making that and putting out Moonface, the first single this year in July, that was like a year's worth of material that I made for like different, very disparate sounding projects, because I just can't make up my mind what I want to do musically. So it's been like the hardest part is just sorting through that and finding what is resonating at this particular moment with me, and then deciding to like really revive it and try and pull it more up to date with how I do things now.
Are there things that are easier or harder about just putting out singles in the momentary versus planning out an album like you did last year?
I definitely like went into this with the intention of doing one every single month with like really no preparation, nothing like lined up. So it's definitely been like more stressful in that I have been trying not to like just hole away and just make an album, because then you're just kind of like in your own little world. Doing it this way, I feel like is a little bit more stressful, but also more like immediately rewarding. I think the biggest difference is just like people don't really listen to albums all the way through. as much, unless they really love your music, like to a very special degree, then they probably won't listen to the whole thing. At this point in my life, it doesn't feel like it makes sense to spend all that time when people might only listen to the first song on it. So I've been trying to just do it in a more momentary way. So hopefully more people listen to it. But also, it's also been a process of trying to figure out what direction I want to go in. I don't know. There's so many different styles that resonate with me as a listener and as a creator. And I feel like I definitely have been having the desire to kind of narrow in on something, which I think I'm getting closer to through this process. So that's another big reason why I've been doing singles, is just to kind of gauge how I feel about it afterwards, and just feel how it's like all about just like observing how I feel throughout the whole process of making it and then putting it out. Because all 4 singles are pretty different, with the exception of maybe Moonface and Download. I think those ones are somewhat similar. So it's kind of been like a self-discovery process that I think has really paid off for me.
That's really cool. I share the same feelings about singles. I think probably for the last year, I've kind of had the thought that unless you're at a certain level where you have like hardcore fans, there's not going to be a lot of people who see your album and you're like, let's give the whole thing a shot.
Yeah.
You know, there are some people, like, I love listening to a whole album once I've found somebody I like, because I want to see how they handle like putting together a cohesive, body of work. But not everyone's like that. A lot of people just like to hear some singles and maybe throw it on a playlist. So I think it's really cool that you've transitioned, you've had that experience doing kind of a cohesive album, and now you get to explore every couple of months what your newest skin in the game is, like what you're feeling now. What lessons have you learned in the last couple of months, and now you can really apply it to something new, and you can constantly change, as opposed to like be stuck in that mindset for a year and a half. Like, people know you from that album, and then you have to prove you've changed, as opposed to every month being like, oh, here's something new, here's the thing I featured on.
Yeah. Do you make music?
I do, yeah. I guess I started a few years ago when I actually started producing and doing all that stuff in my room. And for the last, I did the same thing. I put out an EP. The first thing I ever did, I put out an EP, and then I was like, it's cool and I'm glad I did it, but more people are going to be inclined to listen to singles as opposed to just like discovering this EP. So since then, I've really only done singles.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the most sense starting out. It's just so much time to devote to make an album. But, it's actually what I want to do. Like, I really love albums as like a format. And I love thinking about like just kind of the flow of it and the arc and maybe like the theme, and just exploring that. That stuff really excites me, because I listen to albums usually.
Yeah, me too.
So I look forward to someday getting back into that, but it just doesn't make as much sense right now.
Yeah, I feel that. One day we'll get there.
Yeah, you should send me some of your music too.
Yeah, I'd love to. I have some on just like my Instagram, but I'll send you some links after this.
Sweet.
I really want to ask you about any, just producers or sound engineers that you take inspiration from, because when I listen to McCall's stuff and then I listen to yours, it's like, this guy, I don't know what's going on in his head, but you're like, you're concocting these crazy beats and you throw all these weird sounds in there and they all work, and there's a lot of sampling going on. So, who do you look towards for that kind of stuff?
Well, thanks. I mean, that's a great question. It's still changing like every couple months, because I'll get like really obsessed with an artist for like 6 months. That's just kind of the way I consume music. I just get really obsessed with one artist for like half a year. And then something else finds me. And it's kind of just been like building up that mosaic of influences. I mean, I think maybe the first notable being like in middle school, I got super obsessed with The National, and they're still one of my favorite bands. And I think that still comes through quite a bit, especially in a lot of McCall's stuff, I think. Just like with piano, and more so from like a piano and voicings, more musical perspective. But then I think in more recently, I think 20 to a Million really changed my ears.
Yeah, I can hear that for sure.
Yeah, in 20, I came late to that. I think I got into that in like 2017. Before that, I was obsessed with the 1975, which is definitely ingrained in me.
Yeah, I can definitely hear it in Nocturnal Heavenly Yes.
yeah, and just like 80s music in general, I just am so fond of. I mean, I love synth bells and just 80 like gated snares and everything. I think there's a lot of things they got right in the 80s with pop music that I will always love. But then like I think the past 2 years, I think last year George Clanton.
Yeah, George Clanton is sick, dude. He's pretty underrated, I think.
Oh yeah. No, I used to always be telling everybody to listen to Slide.
Yeah, when I first heard that album, like the first 4 songs just blew my mind.
Oh yeah. No, it's a really good album. And I got really obsessed with him, and I think that got ingrained. Then I got really, really into Charlie XCX, PC music, that whole thing. I've explored that kind of angle a bit too. Then this year it's been a lot of Baths. Have you listened to Baths?
Yeah, I've heard of Baths, but I've never listened to him.
That's been the biggest influence on me this year, and just like, I don't know. It might not be apparent, but like JPEG Mafia's production.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite producer, I think.
I've talked about him a few times on this show now, and I always say the same thing. I think he's like pushing the boundaries of what producers can do, especially rappers and a producer, like combo. He's insane. He's so out there. All My Heroes Are Cornballs is an incredible album.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite album.
There's so many weird things going on, and like that's an album I can't just put one song on. Like I'm starting at Jesus Forgive Me, I'm a Thought, the first one, and I'm gonna go until I have to stop listening to the album.
Yeah, exactly. Reason. Yeah, I mean, especially like the first like 9 songs is just like a clean run through of just like, it's just such the soup of influences there is so just
dense.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I just love the when like experimental music can also be really catchy and fun and not like taking itself really seriously. That's like the best to me these days.
You know, you mentioned The National earlier, and now that you say that, I'm like, oh, duh, of course. But I was thinking a little deeper when I heard Moonface. It reminded me of Big Red Machine. Do you know who they are?
Oh yeah, you're. I'm glad I'm talking to you. Big Red Machine is.
That is a project that a lot of people don't talk about, but was really sick. So
yeah,
Aaron Dessner from The National and Bon Iver. Right.
Yeah, JV. Yeah, that's one of my favorite albums of all time. That one definitely changed my ears as well. I don't know. I think I might like it more than any individual National album or any individual Bon Iver album.
That's a hot take.
It's one of the best collaborations I've ever heard. Just like, I feel like it's just the best parts of both of them coming together in a really good way.
Lila was my favorite song, for sure.
Oh yeah, I love every song. Every single moment too is just, it's such a, it's like there's so many just little moments that if you just wear out that album, you get to know those moments really well. Where there's just like one note that will just, that I look forward to, and it's just like one note that only happens once, and it's just, yeah, it's yeah, like Airstrip, that blew my mind.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to go listen to it because that was
Yeah.
one of my most listened to albums that year. And now I really only listen to Lila every like here and there. But I remember how important it was to me when that came out like 2 years ago. I do need to ask you just about one specific thing. It's really just for me. I don't know how many people
Yeah.
will even think about it, but I love the very end of Moonface when you're doing the "Where's the Love" outro, and then everything gets blown out. Like, do you have any noise rock influences that are pretty prominent? Because I haven't really gotten into too much, but I'm starting to like dip my toes in the water here. And that end of that song I thought was great because you get to throw in some noise stuff, but it's at the very end, so it's not like it doesn't throw
Yeah.
someone off, you know? It's like you can enjoy the pop, and then if you still really get into that stuff, you can appreciate that ending.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't really listen to noise music, so I can't tell you where to go for that.
That's cool because you still have that influence somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, what I know is that I love like adding noise to non-noise music. There's something so heavy about just like white noise that I think is way heavier than like any 8-string guitar. You know, like, and I'm really fascinated by it. And I think incorporating like just crushing noises into pop music is really exciting to me, and definitely exploring that a lot more. Definitely trying to bring, I not trying, I have been bringing more noise into the things that I've been doing, especially like some of the new McCall stuff that nobody's heard. Is like white noise is a big part of big part of that.
That's awesome.
I just, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's
Kind of off-putting, the actual white noise. So to be able to turn it around and change it into something that actually elevates a song is pretty impressive.
yeah, and I also like when songs don't feel like they end as much as they get like destroyed or swallowed up by the void.
Right, they just implode.
Yeah, because I like music to, or these days I've been trying to make like my music have like kind of an instability to it where like you can't take anything for granted moment to moment because it might not be there.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
I think when things are really stagnant, like you just loop something and that's like the track. I think your ear takes it for granted. Whereas I think if you have a good song, but then have everything around it be kind of just like struggling to hold on, I think it's way more compelling, and your ear doesn't take anything for granted because like nothing, everything's always changing. That's kind of what I'm aspiring to right now, is just like constant movement. And then if you end that with it all just actually falling apart, I think that's really fun. You know?
That's such a great way of looking at it. I love that perspective. Moonface definitely feels like that because it kind of crumbles into nothingness by the end of the song. And even Nocturnal Heavenly Yes kind of has an ending that feels like it's distant. Like all of a sudden the song has gotten a little further away from you. I like the idea of, you know, you're barely holding on and you can't take it for granted. That's such a cool way of looking at it.
To go off of that, just like I think when Nicole and I started working on music in person in August, we just kind of stopped thinking about music musically when we were making it, which I think was a huge step forward for both of us.
So what do you mean?
We're not thinking about it in terms of like, oh, drums go there, like bass goes there, it's more like, what if we had like this shape going on, or like this motion, or like we think about it in like motions and like textures and just kind of like non-musical ideas, like just the ideas of life applied to music, and for some reason it makes it way more compelling. We'll say things like, what if there's just like a million orbs flying around you, or like what if this fairy flies around your head and drops some bells on you. And I feel like that type of thinking has been like a huge leap for us, and I'm really excited for people to hear that. And I think I think on the last song, since I made it so recently on download, I think I definitely was exploring that with that song as well.
Sounds like pop rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't thinking that, but I do love that description from my mother.
Yeah, I saw that description. I was like, well, now I have to listen to it. And I did. I was like, oh, she's right.
Yeah, I don't know, just like trying to make things like tangible, like it's like a
Right.
something you can actually feel with your ears, rather than just like, oh, there's an instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been really fun.
And I definitely see what you mean, because I've noticed like the samples in your songs. I always notice like camera clicking or camera flashing.
Yeah, there's
And it just feels like stuff like that makes it feel more lifelike. It feels less, like you said, like music, and more like a moment in time where all these sounds just happen to be coming together in the right way.
Yeah, a lot of that influence has come from Baths recently and JPEG, just because both of them are artists that definitely utilize sounds of life.
Okay, I'll check out Baths.
Yeah, I think you'll really like it. So yeah, we've been really leaning into that, and that's transferred to my own music as well, where it's just there's a lot of YouTube. I think the most these days, the most common instrument we use is YouTube.
Really? So you're just taking like samples from videos?
Yeah, they're all free. They're all not copyrighted, so I think we're in the clear. But it's just, yeah, there's this channel called All Sounds, where we'll just look up like tornado siren sound free, and then YouTube to MP3 and pull it in. And
That's your best friend, the YouTube to MP3 converter.
yeah, it's awesome, and it doesn't take as much time as like trying to record it.
Exactly. Sweet. Well, Bobby, I think that's going to take us over to the last 5 here. I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions, and then we'll be out of here.
Cool.
All right, number 1, Logic or Ableton?
I've only used Logic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm biased. There's nothing that I need that Logic doesn't have.
Right.
I don't know. People love Ableton though, and I believe them. I just don't want to learn another DAW.
Right. I try to think about ahead of time what I think the artist is going to say when I ask them that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have guessed you to say Ableton, because your music is so, I don't know, it just seems like it was constructed in Ableton, because when I've used Ableton, it's so much easier to do samples and drums and make everything like side chain and stuff like that. Whereas Logic, to me, seems to be better with vocal comping and like more of starting a track from like if you already know what you're going to record. But that's interesting to hear that you use Logic.
Yeah, I haven't been doing like a lot of like programming these days. It's mostly just like recording external audio sources, which I think Logic is good at that. I don't know. I don't know. I've never used Ableton, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like Ableton is really good for like programming.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. But I don't know. It's mostly like recording.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, question number 2, what's on your musical rotation right now?
A lot of Baths, because I'm still in the depths of my obsession with his whole discography, but also listening to a lot of Bruce Hornsby again lately.
I don't know Bruce Hornsby.
I'm sure you've heard he was like a pop artist in the 80s.
Okay.
That's just the way it is.
Oh, I feel like I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always loved. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. Definitely a big influence. But he's come back around for me. With Joe Biden winning the election,
How are they connected?
it sparked some well of joy.
Okay.
And if I'm having a good day,
Yeah.
I will be listening to Bruce Hornsby.
Gotcha. So Bruce Hornsby is feel good music.
Yeah. His early stuff. There's good stuff. His whole discography, but he definitely, he went a little bananas, but in a fun way. I respect it. But
Bruce
his
Hornsby.
old music is really euphoric and very good.
Nice. Well, I'll go listen to that. What do you think is a perfect album front to back? We did say Big Red Machine earlier.
Oh, that too. Big Red Machine. Yeah, All My Heroes Are Cornballs. Power Windows by Rush.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting a Rush reference.
It's the Rush album that like most Rush heads don't like because it's like the 80s pop Rush.
Okay.
Like when it's their peak synthiness.
Yeah. What's the cover? Because I know the covers. I don't know all the names.
It's like kind of like gray, and there's like a weird animated guy like looking out a window at like a storm. It's weird guy. It's one of the like best pop albums
Interesting.
that I know, which is funny because it's from Rush.
Yeah.
But it's really it's a blast. I think everybody should listen to it.
I got to see them during their Clockwork Angels tour, which was pretty sick because my friend is like a huge Rush fan, and I like Rush. I just like who they are. I think they're cool, and I like a few songs. But there was some hardcore Rush fans there. I was intimidated.
Yeah, I've seen them like 3 or 4 times because they were like the first band that I like really got obsessed with when I was in like 5th grade. And I only listened to Rush for like 3 years.
Wow.
And I was deep into it. There's actually a Rush poster, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah, you are deep into Rush. I'm sure all the other kids were like, "What? Who is this kid? Like, what is this band that he listens to?"
Oh yeah, if I would like wear Rush t-shirts around in public, and like
man.
there would be like dads with their like son who was my age, and they would just be like, they would
give you the nod.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Hey man, that's so cool that you're listening to Rush."
Yeah. The music these days is not even close to as good.
I know. And they'll kind of like look at their kid and be like, "I've been trying to get him to listen to Rush, but it won't take." But that was always kind of funny. Yeah, it's a lot of old men.
A lot of old men. Not exactly like a teeny boppers band.
Not a lot of old women either. Mostly old men.
All right. Who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
I don't know. Probably Bon Iver, Justin Vernon. I feel I would love.
I think that's what McCall said too.
Really,
I think so.
I would just love to be one of those 50 people that ends up on the album.
Right.
Just doing one thing.
Just hitting the cowbell.
Yeah, I know. That seems to be the way things operate around there. Is just want to come over and
go to his compound.
Something. Yeah, and then they use like 5 seconds of your whole session.
I told Scofie, a previous guest, that Maddie Healy would be great as producing her, and I feel like you and Maddie Healy from the 1975 would also come up with some crazy shit.
Yeah, I bet we could. That would be pretty cool. I would love to do something with JPEG too.
Oh yeah.
That would be really fun. But yeah, I don't know. I think I listened to the 1975 too much in high school, and I think we would possibly clash.
Yeah.
If we were together. But
I had a big obsession as well in high school with them. They were huge for me.
You didn't have a high school experience if you weren't obsessed with The 1975.
Or if you didn't have a friend who was obsessed with it and then you made fun of them, because I was the friend that always got made fun of for liking it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's it's a little embarrassing, I feel like.
I didn't even know why. I never thought it was embarrassing. And then years later, like after they put out, I guess the second one, so somebody else comes out, and all of a sudden, like, it's cool to like the 1975. Like, dudes weren't allowed to like the 1975. They were like a girls only band, and now everyone loves them.
Yeah, everybody loves. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it's embarrassing for me now, just because like I think I've definitely gone away from it, but I think my old music definitely just sounded too much like them, especially my old band. I think we worshipped them too much as a band.
That's how it goes, you know?
Yeah, so I think and we got compared to them a lot, which definitely made me like kind of reject them.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe I feel the same way about the Black Keys, because I was in a drummer guitar band in high school and I was the drummer, and I loved the Black Keys. We played shit like that all the time, and then everybody would say we kind of sounded like them. And then I think subconsciously I just stopped listening to them, you know?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I haven't heard
know.
their stuff in forever, and I'm just like, you know, I'm glad I had that moment, but
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I mean, if you're compared to one thing over and over and over again, and it's the only thing people compare you to, you're gonna get resentful of it,
right.
without a doubt. And I mean, I definitely want to like avoid that in the future, just like sounding too much like one thing.
I think the more you practice and work on it, the more it becomes not as, like, you don't have to focus on making something new and different to you. It just kind of happens, and you ride that wave.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, that's been the goal.
Yeah.
For quite some time, is just trying to get to that self-actualization level where you don't have to try
Mm-hmm.
to make things sound unique. It just is the natural amalgamation of everything you've ever heard.
Right.
Yeah, that still is the goal for me.
Yeah. Also, I apologize to you and all the listeners if you've been hearing a buzzsaw in the background throughout this whole thing. We got renovations going on in the apartment next to us. So we'll get out of here quick. I'll ask you this last question and we'll be done. What is your next piece of equipment on your wish list?
Oof, I'm running out of money.
Let's say money is no object.
Money is no object. Oof, let me think about that. You know, that's hard. I got the OP1.
No way. You have the OP1?
Yeah, I got it. I figured I wouldn't be able to get it. I didn't think I would be able to get it for quite some time since it's so expensive, but you know, unemployment was really kicking for a while. So that was my dream gear. Now I have that. But now I feel like I would like, oh, you know what I want? I just want a piano, like a real piano.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really want. Because I love piano, but I don't know, something about playing a real piano is just so nice. Like, I think me and my roommates are gonna try and get one on Craigslist.
Yeah, why not?
And get it tuned and everything.
Yeah, worst case, you just pay somebody to tune it, get a cheap piano somewhere, and like you just spend the money on the tuning, which is probably more important anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool to have like a parlor room where it's nothing but tile and just a piano in the middle of the room, and then you can set up all the microphones around it, record like the reverb.
Oh no. Yeah. You know what my life goal is? This is my goal in my head, is I want, in terms of just like knowing that I've like that I've done a good job, is I want to someday own a grand piano, because I think that would imply a few important things. One, that I have enough money to buy a
Right.
grand piano. Two, that I have my own space to play it. Three, that I still enjoy making music, and I think that's so important to hold on to that. So that's a big milestone in my head. Is someday I just want a grand. That's all I want. I just want a grand piano and a place to play it.
That's a pretty good goal, and I like the signs that come along with it. You're right, because I have a drum set, but I can't play it in my apartment in Los Angeles, so like,
Yeah.
what good is it? So I see what you mean. Owning a grand piano means you got to have the money for it, you got to have the space for it, and you got to have the attention for it.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I'm able to play that thing at like 3 a.m., that is the dream. That's all I want.
Just you get that idea in bed, you wake up, throw up the covers, and then run to the parlor.
Yeah. Yeah, not bother anyone.
Mhm.
That'd be so nice.
That sounds like the dream to me. Sweet. Well, Bobby Rethwish, man, thanks for coming on the show and talking about your music, your process, working with McCall. I'm excited to hear you guys, your new EP coming out soon. Do you have a tentative date for it, or just working on it right now?
No, I don't think I can.
Can't say anything.
Yeah, I can't leak anything.
Damn, almost got him. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. It's going to be great. You guys are a great pair. Her EP that you worked on is awesome. People need to go check out that. It's called On Self-Loathing. People need to check out your 2020 singles. Download is the newest one. I'm going to go listen to it again after this. And yeah, Bobby, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Let's do it again sometime.
Sweet. Yeah, send me some of your music too.
Yeah, will do. I will.
Sweet.
All right, man.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you later.
Yeah, cheers.
When our hearts stop beating and the train is leaving.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.